I could not agree more, Chris. He's got to get up there and be absolutely clear as to why there has been the change and what will be different under him. And he needs a plan literally for the first 48 hours, a plan for the first week, a plan for the first month. He then has to, I think, put his best team on the field. I think for too long they've played ducks and drakes, the Libs, with their front bench. They've worried about people that might be a threat, so they've punted them, people like, Jane Hume and Sarah Henderson. They've punted them to the back bench. Andrew Hastie just into Price. Angus is going to get one crack at this. He has to put his best team on the paddock and be absolutely blind to personal relationships, factional heavyweights, all of that. And he's got to be prepared for those that, Alex Hawke, who clearly cannot perform. He's a game player at best. Literally cut his throat, get him out of the way and put good people with brains on his front line, because, it's 11 minutes to midnight and it genuinely is, I believe, an existential question now for the Liberal Party. Will they even survive?
Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. And I think that you're right. They have very limited personnel, but they do have some, and they should be on the paddock. And that also means that Matt Canavan's got to come off the back bench and be part of that team of the National Party. Clearly, he has a huge influence in that party, so he should be there, and he should have some role in energy. Now, I really like Dan Tehan. I think that he's been trying his best to do a job there, but I think there has to be some kind of way in which Dan Tehan has a say in what's going on in energy policy in Australia. Jane Hume, for sure. James Paterson, for sure. There are people there, they're limited, but all of them have to get this into their head. What is it? Who are they serving? They're serving the Australian people. That's what matters. They need to be keeping that at the forefront of their mind every single day. The purpose of them being in Parliament is to be servants of the people of Australia, and at the moment they are self-serving, and everyone can see that.
Let's go to the visit of the Israeli president today. Bondi protests, some in Sydney, sorry, not in Bondi, he was at Bondi. The protests are in and around the Sydney city area. There were some lone protesters at Bondi, but nothing like we're seeing in Sydney. He made some very pointed comments in relation to the protesters. Let's listen.
These demonstrations, in most cases, what you hear and see comes to undermine and delegitimize our right, my nation's right, the nation which I am the head of state of its mere existence, and is contradictory to whatever ever was said and done by Australia.
I mean, this is effectively, Chris, a condolence visit at the invitation of Australia to another head of state. And when John Howard went to Indonesia, a large Muslim country, after the Bali bombings to mourn our dead, he was treated with enormous respect. And yet here in Australia, all these years later, I'm ashamed of these scenes.
Ashamed but not surprised, though, are you, Peter? Like, you expected that you would see this on the streets of Sydney, and I expected those people who have been told by a court now that they cannot march will attempt to march. And I'm assuming that they'll try to disrupt this visit as much as they possibly can. And I think the thing that to watch now is what happens through the rest of this visit, because there is huge disquiet inside the Labor Party, and some of them will be chafing at the bit in order to have their say about the President's visit, because inside the Labor Party there is deep division on this, and a large part of the backbench of the Labor Party and some of the ministry, obviously, are supporters clearly of the state of Palestine and are anti-Israel, essentially, in their sentiment. And that, I think, will be difficult to contain. So that will be something to watch.
Just quickly, the ABC's copped a rebuke from the boss of ASIO. They've got a program tonight on Four Corners with suggestions that there were significant intelligence failings that led to Bondi. Now, the ASIO boss says ABC's use of what they call uncorroborated claims of a disgruntled source, they're not happy with that. These are the sort of allegations that properly should be tested in a Royal Commission. I think this is why we needed a Royal Commission. If it is true that our agencies could and should have done better, then fix it and fast. But I tell you, where's the ABC calling out the political failures that have led to the rise in anti-Semitism, like the failure to deport hate preachers as an example?
Yeah, well, look, I haven't seen a report from Four Corners. Obviously, watch with interest tonight. ASIO is clearly deeply concerned about it. You would expect, though, that any media organisation is going to be looking at whether or not there were intelligence failures. I can tell you this, from what I know about what happened between the father and the son. The father was very, very much involved in the instigation of the son to become radicalised on this. And also, when you look at the number of people that ASIO have on that watch list that we keep talking about, do you know how many that is, Peter? That is over 18,000 people now that ASIO has on its watch list. It is literally physically impossible for that agency to keep an eye on everyone. So I do not know what happened in the course of the life of that young man and his father, but it would not surprise me if there was not sufficient evidence for ASIO to be able to keep a detail on him, given there are so many people that fall in that list. So over 18,000 people, we've got a serious problem inside Australia. This is not just neo-Nazis, this is radical Islam that we are talking about. That is the thing that needs to be named as the root of the problem in all of this. That is the thing that the Royal Commission is going to have to come to terms with. It's going to be a very, very difficult year for this nation as we come to terms with what multiculturalism actually means and what it means to be an Australian citizen.
And whether we even want multiculturalism in this country anymore. I'm not saying we don't want migrants of lots of backgrounds, but do we accept the long-held premise of the left that we should be all cultures and basically no unified culture, or whether we can keep on going on as we have been? Chris, thank you.